In this video, we'll take a closer look at the all-new block editor, introduced in WordPress 5.0. As we discussed in the previous video, the entire editing experience has been completely rebuilt, enabling you to create just about any type of layout you can imagine. Now, let's create a new post, and I'll show you around the new editor. To get started, first add a title. Next, you can either start typing some text to create a new paragraph block, or type a backslash to choose from a list of common blocks. Or if you prefer, click the plus icon either next to the current block or in the top left-hand corner to choose a new block. If you know what type of block you'd like to add, you can quickly search for it here. And below the search field is a list of the most commonly used blocks, like paragraphs of text, images, headings, buttons, and more. But if we collapse this section, we'll find all the other blocks categorized into individual sections to make it easier to locate blocks based on their functionality. For example, there are inline elements, like inline images, the most common blocks, formatting blocks for code snippets, custom HTML, pull quotes, or tables, layout elements like buttons, columns, page breaks, and separators, and even widgets, some of which can now be added directly within pages or posts. And finally, you can embed content from a whole list of services like YouTube videos, Instagram posts, and a whole lot more. To save some time, I'll just paste some text. And because the text I pasted contained 2 paragraphs, you'll see that Gutenberg has automatically created 2 individual paragraph blocks, indicated by the name in the top right-hand corner. Hovering your mouse over the left-hand side of the block reveals buttons to quickly move a block up or down the page, or drag and drop the blocks into a different order. Now, notice the toolbar that appears at the top of the block. This toolbar will change depending on the type of block we're currently editing. In the paragraph block, it reveals the usual formatting options for aligning text to the left, center, or right, as well as making highlighted text bold, italics, or converting it into a link. On the left-hand side of the toolbar, you can click this button to convert a block into a different type of block. For example, I'll just convert this paragraph into a quote. Click the button on the right-hand side of the toolbar to reveal more options. For example, you can open the block settings tray, which contains additional options for styling the block. Again, these options will change depending on the type of block we're editing. You can also easily duplicate a block, insert a block above or below this one, edit the HTML for this block, and if you've customized a block, you may want to add it to a list of reusable blocks. And finally, you can delete or remove the block. Notice that there are also keyboard shortcuts for each of these functions, which will help you work even more quickly with a little bit of practice. In the top right-hand corner, the Settings button will hide or show the individual options for the block you've selected, or the settings for the document itself. Now, we'll cover these settings in more detail in a later video, so for now, just remember that these settings can be found here. And speaking of important settings, in the top right-hand corner, click the button represented by these 3 dots to reveal some of the most important settings for the editor. First of all, you can choose to view all the block formatting tools in a single bar across the top of the page, rather than in context above the block you're editing. Spotlight mode helps you focus on just the block that's currently selected. And full screen mode hides the toolbar across the top of the page and the main navigation menu on the left, helping you to focus on just your content. You can also switch from the visual editor to the code editor, which reveals the code used by WordPress to create and identify these blocks within Gutenberg. Under the Tools section, you can manage any reusable blocks you've created, view a handy list of keyboard shortcuts that can help you navigate the editor more quickly, or copy all the content from this page, which can be really helpful if you've created a complex layout with lots of custom blocks. And finally, in the Options section, you can enable an automated test to check for errors before you publish. And you can enable tips to help you learn your way around the Gutenberg editor. You can also hide any document settings panels that you don't plan to use very often. And you can enable advanced panels like custom fields if your site makes use of them. Now, when you create a long page with lots of different types of blocks, it can become difficult to find a particular block to edit. So the block navigation button at the top will show you an outline view of all the blocks used in your page, allowing you to easily jump right to a particular block and make changes. And the new Content Structure button will show you at a glance how many words, headings, paragraphs, and blocks are currently being used on this page. And of course, there are handy buttons to help you undo and redo any changes you might have made. When you're finished creating your content, you can save it as a draft or preview what it would look like to your visitors. And when you're happy with your content, click the Publish button and your new post or page will appear on your site. Now that you're familiar with the Gutenberg editor, it's time to start creating some content for our site. So in the next few videos, we'll explore how to build custom layouts and create more compelling content using the default blocks included in Gutenberg.